down in the right-hand corner is Team Fire. Um, and then we have on the top across there, you have Aces, and underneath them are actually teams Dash and Diamonds together, and then Team Genoa FC at the bottom, and Team Rangers from this year. So some of my favorite pictures from the season in the fall, obviously not from the spring, but just some of my favorite moments and memories from this past year, kind of going forward. So, want to talk about first, when I have these type of meetings for parents in terms about soccer clubs, I don't talk about Classics Eagles first. What I like to do is talk a little bit about kind of our why, and not Class Eagles why, but parents why. What are you looking for in a club? Why do kids play? Why do coaches coach? Because as you're looking at soccer clubs, regardless of kind of where you end up playing, your child ends up playing in the fall, this is gonna what I think helps parents find the right option. If Class Eagles is a great option for your child or your team, that's awesome. But also for me, I want this presentation to be a helpful guide and things to consider as you're looking at clubs, and kind of taking a kind of a self look and what your expectation is in terms of what a club soccer experience would look like. What do you think it is for your child, and kind of things you might be expecting from coaches, and how the season would go. So that's how we're going to do. Then I'll get into the program a little bit more. So I always start kind of with the basic question, and then why do kids play youth sports? And again, these are some of the obvious ones that you kind of hear if you interview kids, that they'll talk to you a lot about these things. And looking at your child, you might kind of ask this question, why does your child play? What is their main motivation? Over 2.3 million kids play. I think that's more now. But is it to have fun, or to do something they're passionate about? Are they looking just to improve skills? They just like staying healthy and being active. For them, it might be a friendship, relationship based experience. They really like playing with friends, and that's what's important to them. Some kids, depending on your child's age, might have goals of already playing in high school or maybe playing in college. So one thing to always ask yourself and think about when it comes to why kids play is what's their motivation. I think this is important when you're looking at soccer clubs, and making sure kind of what the focus and direction of the club aligns with kind of the reason why your child is playing. Why does your kid play? So again, this is not a list of these are the right reasons to play. These are just some of the top reasons kids will mention. Kids fall in all areas of that spectrum. Some it's just fun, and that's it. They just really just like to play, and that's the only thing they think about. Others, it's about other things. So it's something to think about when you're looking at your kid and thinking about why kids play, what motivates them, to get on the field, when, you're getting them ready for practice or getting ready for the game. And then, from the parent standpoint, I think about my kids now is like, why do I want them to be involved in sports? Why do I want them to play soccer? Why do I want them to play basketball? Whatever it is, what are those main things that you're looking, for your child to get out of their youth soccer experience? Do you sign your kid up to play because it helps build self-esteem and confidence in sports? Do you like the idea of them learning teamwork and learning leadership, healthy habits from exercise, the way they eat, going to bed early, training, sticking to a routine? All these type of things are reasons why parents, want their kids to be involved in sports or activities. The idea of belonging, being part of a team, being part of a group, identifying with a team, and having that, a little bit of that sense of identity, not their entire identity, but, knowing that, that's my team, that's my club, that's my community. That's a lot of reasons why kids participate, or parents want their kids to participate in sports. Learning what it takes to really master and become an expert in something. That's, a key skill we don't talk about a lot when it comes to why we, kind of have kids in activities at a young age. Part of it is so they learn, what that requires to really become an expert in something. All of us really don't, most of us don't become professional in sports, but in our own lives, professional lives, as a parent, what does it take to learn those master skills? How much time does it take? How much commitment? How much sacrifice does it take to really become an expert or a master in your field? That's something that, kids learn through sports. And, you know, a reason why parents will say they sign them up. They want to know, they want kids to learn what that process looks like. You know, being, you know, excellent in that process in the field can help them be better in that process in the classroom. You know, learning that it takes time to learn and master something, and there's setbacks and it's not easy and you're going to struggle and the struggle is good. All those things are, you know, reasons why, you know, parents will also put their kids into activities. So they're learning those skills and how to do that. And then memories. I think we all can look back on, you know, our youth and think about if we played sports or any kind of activity at school. You know, those memories stick with us for a long time. You know, I still remember games all the way down to U10 and tournaments and moments and games won. So, you know, when we think about as parents why we sign our kids up for activities, these kind of ideas can be top of mind and should be top of mind. Of like, you know, why am I signing my kid up for soccer? What do I want them to get out of it? You know, and then, you know, that's, you know, as we're looking at options, these are things we, you know, should consider. Okay. Um, why do coaches coach? I bring this up because, you know, that's something sometimes we don't talk about or think about as coaches. And, you know, Classics Eagles is a parent coach, a volunteer, but professionally assisted club. So we have a lot of coaches who are volunteering within the club to coach. And, you know, you talk to them and they're amazing individuals. They do it because they love it. They're volunteering their time. They want to teach, they want to empower, they want to inspire kids. You know, I think any coach, regardless of level you talk about, whether it's, you know, at the, you know, really young age, at the recreational level, and even up to the professional ranks, I think these things that you see listed there really apply. You know, we get into this profession, you know, as a coach or a teacher, because we want to empower, we want to teach kids, we want to share our passion. You know, anyone who teaches anyone anything, a lot of it, if they're very good at it, you're sharing your passion, you're sharing your excitement about the topic. You know, so that's, you know, something that, you know, a lot of great coaches, that's why they coach. They want to pay it forward. They like to help kids grow and get better, just like their coaches, their teachers, their parents did for them. You know, so when I'm looking at coaches and why coaches coach, these are some of the things that I kind of always look for. And, you know, I evaluate coaches on is like, you know, are they coaching for these reasons? You know, are these why they step on the field and they work with kids? You know, for me, coaches that are driven by these ideas and this is what they want to do, like those are your most impactful and inspiring coaches that kids have. These are the coaches and teachers and mentors that, you know, you remember and you know had a big impact on your life going forward. So I think as parents, you know, we look, you know, to have our kids coached and instructed by someone else, we're hoping, you know, a lot of times that these are what coaches have. You know, that's kind of why they're on the field. That's why they want to do it. And I think if you talk to most coaches, this is, you know, exactly what they would say. Um, things you did not see. And I want to preface this. This doesn't mean that this list is the things that we shouldn't talk about in sports or these are bad or things like that. What this is that it's typically not the top of the list. If you ask kids why they coach, you ask great coaches why they coach, parents why they want their kids to play, winning usually is not the first thing. It's like, I want my kid to play sports because I want them to win. Or I want that, you know, that's not usually a top focus. Now, is winning important in sports? Do you step on the field to compete and try to win the game? Absolutely. You know, that's part of the learning process, but it's usually not the driving force. If you're looking at, you know, why you're putting your kid into a program or why a player steps on the field, you know, some of the things that are most important to them might not be winning. You know, winning, again, they want to compete and they win, but there's other things that are taken away from it. If, you know, you're in a club already, you know, a lot of times, you know, you don't hear kids, I want for me, I don't think a really good reason to play is to be on a top team because it's a little bit of it's a little cart before the horse type thing. A lot of players like, I want to be on the top team. And it's like, well, you get there by doing the other things we talk about that you really enjoy playing. You love the game. You love being a part of it. You know, that's how you continue to grow and get better. It's not just a final destination or, you know, a reason why you're playing the game. Most kids, you know, I don't think start playing sports. You know, I never did, you know, because I had dreams of being a professional or a college player. You know, down the road, as I continued to play, that started becoming something I was thinking about. You know, I ended up playing in college, but when I first started playing the game, I never thought about where I was going to play in college or becoming a professional player. You know, for me, it was about having fun, enjoying the game with my teammates, And then as I continue to grow in the game, that's when those goals came in. But usually it's not top of mind. So when you're looking at, why your child's playing, what to look for, those are things you want to see. You also, you kind of hear it all the time is that, when it comes to playing sports and, that drive and that push that, you gotta, play 5 days a week, and that specialization at an early age, or you're not going to have that chance to play in college. You have no chance to play professional sports. The more and more, you read and look at the research on that, you kind of find out that's not true. And actually what drives kids out of sports at a young age, because it becomes way too competitive, way too fast. It takes the fun out of it. And then they never really kind of get to that point where they, can start working towards those goals. Because again, I think if you do look at most college and professional players, they got to that level because deep down they absolutely love to play the game and have that passion. So if some things get too serious too quickly, too early, that passion, that joy in the game never gets to kind of really grow roots, because it's replaced by kind of over competitiveness, too much pressure, and it just becomes, the game doesn't become fun. So the game always has to be fun before it can move into kind of those other levels. Travel, I put this on here because it's usually a concern for parents as they're kind of looking at the club level. Usually, for most of the local teams here in Columbus at the younger age group, the travel is fairly minimal. But a lot of people don't get into youth sports because they want to be gone every weekend and drive 3 or 4 hours and stay in hotels every weekend, be gone every weekend. It's part of it, but also I tell parents all the time, if your kid's younger and, they're just getting into it, you want to find situations where there's not a lot of travel, because if they do get serious about it and they're playing at older age groups at 13, 14, 15, then the travel becomes a lot more extensive. They're playing in leagues that are regionally based or nationally based. When I was with Class Eagles as a coach 5 or 6 years ago, I had a U15 team that was a pretty high level team. And they didn't have a single game in the state of Ohio. All their games are everywhere else. So if you can picture that types of travel and stuff like that, that is what could be possible down the road if your child sticks with the game and kind of rises that level. So from an early on standpoint, you really want to try to minimize travel as much as you can. And most clubs do that. That's not something that's just CE based. I think most clubs, those younger age groups, are doing a really good job of trying to keep the travel to a minimum. So everything's kind of local in the community, and there's not a lot of weekends away. So, for me, again, status and promotion, the last thing there kind of goes with the other thing is that's not necessarily why kids play. The first thing we should be trying to do is get kids playing and enjoying the game to start with. So that's kind of why I talk about it. I took this from an author, talks about define your why. When I work with parents and I talk with parents about looking at soccer clubs and options, and there's a ton out there, and we're blessed in Central Ohio to have a great soccer community with a lot of great soccer clubs, really good coaches and stuff like that. As parents, when you're looking at all these options, it's really important to understand your why, for your child, for what you're looking for, because that helps you understand kind of what you're looking for in, a club you select for your kid. I always kind of talk about, like, if you're going to go buy a car, you kind of want to have a sense of, what type of vehicle you're looking for, what you need it for, because there's so many different kinds out there that if you really don't have a sense of what it is you're really searching for, then it can be very overwhelming and you're not really sure what you want. And frankly, what I see with parents often is when they join clubs, if the experience isn't positive, and you'll hear parents talk like, oh, I went here, I didn't like it. I went there, I didn't like it. Often it's not really because the club wasn't, doing a good job, or the parent, it's a lot of times just a difference in expectations. It wasn't aligned. What a parent thought was going to happen wasn't exactly what the club was, providing, or vice versa. So usually that's kind of what causes friction. So I always start with this in these type of presentations, because I want parents and players, even depending on how old your child is, to start thinking in this way, is like, what's important to you? What do you want out of your child's soccer experience? And when you have those answers and you kind of really write them out, it helps when you're looking at all your options and kind of what you're looking for next year. So community soccer programs, for me, I think that's what's great about them. A lot of kids, at least in the Olentangy area or in Westerville, kind of where we're based out of mainly, play, their OIA or the WASA recreational programs, and they're tremendous. The community soccer programs, the grassroots programs, and U.S. Soccer's really start to understand this. It's the foundation for the game. Kids have to have a great opportunity within their community to play and learn the game and get excited about it and have it introduced in the correct way. So U.S. Soccer is doing a great job of creating more grassroots programs. OIA, WASA is doing a fantastic job of creating more opportunities and support for the recreational coaches and programs so kids are introduced to the game, in the proper way, in a way that's positive, that keeps them playing and excited to continue to grow. With community soccer programs, that's kind of what we'd want. And this is what everyone's kind of looking at, is that instead of people having to travel out of their communities and commute over long periods of time to try to get, to a soccer club, stuff like that, that there's good opportunities right kind of where you're located. And, the Olentangy and Westerville area is a great example of that. Columbus is a great example of that. All the communities have great programs locally. And again, their goals are to introduce the game, teach and guide, and help players move up. Some players will stay in the recreational program their entire lives, and that's great. That fits them. That's what they want to do. And what you'd want to see is that for kids that want to kind of move out of the recreational program, there's steps and opportunities for them to gradually move into more environments that start competing at a level that's appropriate for them and their skill level and their interest in the game. And the one thing that's neat, I think, is that during this time, when I was growing up, not a lot of people played the game. And now, I'm a parent, I have a daughter, I coach in OIA. There's a lot more people who've grown up playing the game. So you have this huge base, and much larger base than back when I was young, of parents who have played the game, grown up with the game. And, they're the volunteer head coaches and the coaches at these community levels that are introducing the game to the players. And it's great. And you can see, I think, the level of play increase across the board, in the U.S. in general, because we just have this new generation of parents who grew up around the game, understand the game, and they're able to teach and present the game starting the grassroots level. So when it comes that change is coming, I do think soccer is going to turn more into like baseball and football, where you have so many people who have grown up playing the sport that there's such a larger knowledge base of everybody around the game, and all these coaches and parents who can help and assist their kids grow and learn the game than maybe there was 20 years ago. And U.S. Soccer and a lot of the other the soccer national organizations are helping promote and support that. So, Classics Eagles is a community soccer program. We're kind of based at Olentangy and Westerville, and the goal is to allow kids to continue to play, grow, and develop in their own communities, among their friends, families, kids to go to school with, versus having to kind of travel and search elsewhere for those opportunities. So just as an example, in terms of how Olentangy within Classics Eagles is somewhat organized, we work very closely with OIA as a recreational program. Classics Eagles in that pyramid's kind of right in the middle. And then our partner program club is Barca Academy, which is kind of what I would call the kind of the level above us in terms of competitive and player level. And Classics Eagles being right in the middle there is kind of right, kind of where it belongs. The goal of Classics Eagles, and we'll talk about this later a little bit, is to partly be a transitional type of situation for players who want to move out of rec, not quite ready to make the overall commitment to, kind of tryout based or a real competitive type of club, and start getting that taste of, league play and the professional coaching, and see if it's a path they want to go. Ideally, Classics Eagles helps kids make that transition, from the recreational leagues into club soccer, and continue to enrich and encourage them and get them excited about the game and help them develop and grow, so they can either stay within Classics Eagles over, kind of years. A lot of teams have been in for 5-6 years. And then some players who want to move on to the next level can, and they've been prepared and ready for it. So that's sort of how, at least with Classics Eagles, kind of we are kind of in the community program, kind of where we're at in terms of kind of our program, what we offer. So our mission statement is there, kind of there. Again, we're kind of here to, again, provide that soccer opportunity for all players. We want to be able to offer a safe, challenging, but rewarding youth soccer experience for every player who wants to play the game, especially those players who are making that transition out of the recreational program and want to kind of move into a little more of a competitive level of soccer, but not quite ready to make that jump, and, still being, very community-based, very little travel, not a ton of financial costs, but start getting that taste, that professional training to help them continue to grow and develop. Again, it says there, who's it for? And for me, it's for any child or team. And I'll talk about how you come into the program a little bit, who's looking for a little bit of the higher competitive level than recreational program. They've kind of outgrown that level of play, but are still looking to, play within their community, play within their friends. And that's why a lot of our teams coming together, which I'll talk about. But again, looking to continue to stay with soccer and enjoy the sport, but get a little more of that, kind of higher level training and support to continue to grow within the game. So becoming a Class Eagles player. So transition a little bit now, and just in terms of how our club works and how players and teams come into the program. Probably the major way teams and players come into the program is as a team. A lot of our teams have come directly out of the recreational program together, whether it's a single team or a combination of teams of the players that want to go. A team will bring their team in the Classic Eagles. They do that for various reasons. A lot of times it's because it's school-age friends that have been playing together for a while. They want to move out of the recreational program, but maybe don't want to do tryouts where maybe they're going to be split up against different teams or not be in the same club. They still want to play together. They still want to carpool together. They want to go to and from games together. It's a close parent group. So they look at Class Eagles as a nice transitional step to move out of recreational, continue to play together as a team while getting some of the additional professional training and a little bit of higher competitive league that you don't kind of see in the recreational program. So again, a lot of our teams come in together. Some teams come in with a full roster, and some teams come in with kind of a core group of 5 or 6 players, and then we help them find additional players to fill their roster for the following season. And that's where the individual players come in. So you can register with Class Eagles as an individual player. We have an independent player registration, and that tells us that you're looking for a team. Typically, like I just said, based on your age group and gender, we will try to help you find a current CE team or a CE team that's coming in that has roster space, and we'll try to put that player with that team. We do player assessments, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well, because that's going to have to look different this year with the current health crisis than it has in the past. But we use those player assessments to kind of get a gauge of, it's not a tryout because we don't tier our teams by levels. There's not a first team, second team, and third team in Class Eagles. There's our teams that coaches have brought in or we put together, but we don't have tiered teams like other clubs. But the assessments help us try to find which team might be the best fit. That can be from a school-based, community-based, can be kind of somewhat of level and, kind of what they're looking for. So our teams obviously all sometimes compete on different levels based on, how they came in together and the level of players on the team. So we want to try to make sure players are, placed on teams that are kind of compatible with where they're at. And it's a good opportunity for them and also the team they're joining. We will at times take individual players and create new teams of individual players. That's not as common. Usually we try to find other roster spots for them. This past year, we created 2 teams like that. So there's not many. When we do that, because we are a parent volunteer type program with coaching, usually we would have to find a parent volunteer within those group of independent players who would want to take on the coaching role, and it's something that they're qualified for and they want to do. So that's what that process would look like. So ideally, we try to find a spot on an existing team. If not, then we will try to create a new team if we can. But again, this year, and I'll talk about the player assessments in a second, but the season fee with coming in to the program, and this will be explained a little bit in terms of in the next couple of slides of what's included, but our fee for the year is $540 per player. And that's a per player fee, not a per team fee. So each player, that's the fee that's paid at the beginning of the year. This year, the payment process is going to look probably a little bit different with, again, the current crisis going on, which has changed a lot of things in terms of how things will go in terms of formation teams and heading into the fall. But just so your reference, that it's about $540. It is $540 per player for the program. So what's included in that? With that $540, it's kind of listed there what each player kind of gets with that. That's your team and player registration fee. Your league entry fee. So we pay to put our teams in the leagues in the local area. And there's 2 seasons. When you come into Class Eagles, unlike the recreational program, you're paying for the fall and spring season. The fall season is that August to October timeframe, and then the spring season is that middle of March to May program. So when you register with a team and commit to a team, you're committing to both seasons. We do have single season options for teams. We don't really do that for individual players unless they're joining a team later on in the season. But we've had a couple teams that have a lot of players who maybe play lacrosse in the spring. So they'll come in and they'll play one season in the fall, and then that fee is different for a single season fee. And then they just play the fall season. So we do have that option as a team-based option. If you're going to play both or just a single season, most teams come in and play both seasons. Last year, we only had one team that did a single season in the fall. But that is an option for those teams that have players that have, a lot of commitments. And that's a great thing about Classic Eagles as well, is that we're pretty flexible in terms of how the team schedules go throughout the year. It's really ideal for kids that, again, want to participate in multiple activities. I'm a proponent for it. I don't think kids should specialize at a young age. So the way it's structured, there's a lot of flexibility for the teams and coaches to work around their players' other commitments and schedules throughout the year to make sure there's not a lot of conflict. So it makes it much easier to kind of participate in multiple sports and multiple activities. So the fee covers referee fees. Each team gets an end of season tournament. So in the league that the team plays in, you get an end of season tournament at the end of the year. So that's included. It covers game, field, and training facility costs. We do a preseason team camp. So that week before the season starts, we bring the teams in and they do a training session with one of the professional coaches like myself, and then a training session with their team. And then that weekend, we actually do internal scrimmages and inter-club scrimmage, kind of kick off the season. It's a very cool event. Each team plays a game a day against another Class Eagles team, and it's a great opportunity for everyone to get on the field and start playing, and a great way to start the fall season. Classics Eagles doesn't have anything official through November through February, so that winter time frame, we don't have any official events as a club. Usually most teams are, just take off. We don't have any league practices or things like that. It's official. The club will offer additional training, and things like that if kids want to participate in those winter months. Some teams will choose to do indoor leagues on their own, but we don't have any official events that time. So that November through February time, that's when Class Eagles teams, they don't play any leagues or games there. We offer 4 indoor sessions at Super Kick as well in those fees for each team. We do that at the end of March, kind of beginning of the season of April. Everyone who understands spring in Ohio, often the fields don't open until the start of April or after spring break. And this year would have been interesting with all the rain as well. But we offer 4 indoor sessions so teams can start training over at Super Kick, before the season starts and get some practices in on the turf. In addition, because Super Kick is a partner of ours, all the teams get a discounted rate on rentals and things like that throughout the year as well if they want training space inside Super Kick. Also in those fees, we offer professional-led soccer training throughout the week. We offer additional skills training for players. There's 2 sessions a week for each age group band. So this is included in the fees. Teams will practice on their own. And if kids want to, there's additional foot skills sessions that are offered each week that are led by me and the other professional staff for players to get some additional training with the ball. So a lot of teams will practice twice a week, and then the players have the opportunity to attend 1 or 2 additional training sessions if they want to get additional foot skills. So what we really like about that is it gives kids the options who want to do more, and it's included. And then, there's opportunities for all kids to continue to get additional training throughout the year during the season. So we run 2 of those sessions per week as the season's going on for the foot skills and field players training. We also do professional goalkeeper training. So each week there's goalkeeper training sessions for all the goalkeepers in Classics Eagles to get that positional specific training. That's also included in the fees. Goalkeeping is probably the most undertrained position on the field. So we think it's very important. And our director, Kirby Valley, of goalkeeping, would agree that goalkeepers are getting that extra type of training session to really focus on the area of the game that, they really need to focus on. So a lot of times team training sessions don't focus a ton on goalkeeping, and those players aren't getting the skills required to have as much success on the field. So we help supplement that training with doing additional session for coaches and help their players gain those skills and confidence. This is very important too for the youngest age groups. When you have those U8, U9s, U10s where everybody plays goalkeeper, but nobody really knows how to play goalkeeper, it can be very intimidating and scary and nerve-wracking for those kids. So when they get the additional goalkeeper training, it's a little bit easier for coaches to have kids volunteer to go in net, because often they don't want to be the player in goal. So a lot of times they just don't know, kind of how to do it. So that additional goalkeeper training is huge. It helps, especially other teams, make all their players confident to step in the goal and play goalkeeper. Team coach resources. So we provide coach gear for the coaches. We provide training equipment like cones, pennies to help out. In addition, throughout the year, I run a couple of coach education courses at the beginning of each season. In addition, I send out weekly kind of training curriculums for the coaches, so support them that way with training ideas, kind of session plans. So as coaches are coming in, they're getting a lot of resources and information from me to help them, guide them. Also, most coaches with our program and all clubs, often it's not their full-time job. So our coaches particularly, but other clubs coaches, a lot of times everyone has a full-time job and they coach in the evening. So what I try to do is provide as much support to the coaches as possible, providing session ideas so they don't have to spend a lot of time trying to create sessions. They have a great resource and library of sessions depending on what they want to work on with their players. And then, one thing I constantly try to do with the coaches is talk to them about their teams after seeing games or talking about their games, help guide them in kind of things they can work on based on observations. So the coaches get a lot of support throughout the year, both from a coaching standpoint and administrative standpoint in terms of league registrations, sign-ups, carding, and all the other things that go into getting ready to play each season. In addition to that, the fees cover a training shirt for the players as well. So, and again, I think I've alluded to it. Every team is different. You can customize the season however you want. If there's teams that want to do additional tournaments, they can. There's a lot of local tournaments in this area that teams can sign up for and register for, and they can do that in addition. Any additional kind of tournament or things like that a team does is a separate fee. So if a team decided to go to an additional tournament throughout the year, we help register the team, we'll pay for it, and then that's something that's invoiced to the parents later that is used to pay the tournament fee. So there's ways to customize the experience each year for each team. The 540 is the base in terms of kind of what we talked about before, but then I work with the coaches and I kind of look at, do you want to do additional tournaments? Do you not want to do additional tournaments? Each team and desire to do that is different, and I leave that up to the coach, and the team itself to kind of decide what they want their season to look like. If they want to do additional things, there's additional skill sessions, fitness sessions, goalkeeper sessions that you can sign up for, indoor space at Superkick that you can rent in the winter to do additional training as a team. All those things are optional if you'd want to do that in addition, but it's kind of up to each team. It's not required. And then, again, most teams typically stick to the standard plan and then maybe add a tournament or two. But a lot of teams will just, play the league and then do the end of season tournament. So there's no additional cost throughout the year. One thing I want to talk about, before talking about the Classics Way is the leagues itself. I get that question a lot. What league does the teams play in? And for us, most of our teams will play in what's called the Ohio Champions League, OCL. It's a local-based league. Most of the teams, all the teams really, are kind of based out of the Columbus metropolitan area. I would say the vast majority of them are, kind of in the northern half of Columbus. So usually within the league, you'll play 10 games. 5 of those games will be home. Home games for us are played at Liberty Park, and they're played at Havner Park for all teams. So kind of right in that Olentangy community. And then you'll usually play 5 games away, and then throughout the season. And, again, a lot of the teams that play are from Dublin, Worthington, Westerville, New Albany area. So there's not a lot of travel within leagues. It's pretty locally based. You're not going very far. You drive. A lot of times parents are worried about stepping into this level that they think all of a sudden they'll be driving 30, 40 minutes to games. There's going to be a lot of travel. And at this level in this age group, there's not. Everything is locally based in Columbus. So, at least 5-year games, if you're playing in Olentangy or Westville, if that's where your team's based out of them, will be right in your kind of backyard. So similar to like the recreational program, where you're kind of going to the same fields each week. But, for the away games, there's a little more travel, but usually it's just to the local communities. And then I kind of said it quickly, but this season consists of 10 games. Again, that's scheduled by the coaches with the teams. There's not a one set day for games. They can be played really any day of the week, including a practice. And it's just up to each team to kind of schedule those games based on what makes best for them. In terms of the Class Eagles Way, for me, this is very important. If you look at us on social media, you'll see the CE Way a lot. For me, this is one of the most important things we talk about throughout the year with the teams and the players and the coaches, is just that value of respect for the community, for each other, for the teams, and then, for the game. For me, I think this is the most important thing, with any, high-level program, team, coach, parent, player, is this value of respect for the game. There's a lot of things that will happen going on the year, but the one thing as a club we don't have any tolerance for, I don't have any tolerance for, is disrespect to the game, disrespect to the community, the team, the referee, your opponent. We're very much about, showing up and playing, competing, the right way, showing respect. There's absolutely, we don't tolerate any type of yelling at the referee, opponents, anything like that. Those things you see on YouTube and those events, that is not the way we approach the game. We're respectful to everybody on the field, and that's something we ingrain and we talk about a lot throughout the year with all the teams, coaches, and parents. My message throughout the year, to the parents, teams, and players reinforces this, what our expectations is and how we behave at games, during games, after games, at training, during training, after training, the way coaches will speak with referees, their players, the parents, very specific way, in a way that, we're always proud of how we left the field. No matter what the result of the game, I never want to see a team to leave the field and the opponent or someone else be like, and just kind of look and be very disappointed about how we competed. No matter what, we always want to be very proud of what we did on the field and how we presented ourselves and how we competed. You can win and lose games, but, if you show up and you do it in a negative way and stuff like that, it kind of erases everything else. So this is one of the core values for us, and something that's the heart of this program, and something I, pay very close attention to throughout the year, is that, how we act and behave as a club, especially in respect to the CE Way and our opponents we play against. My role within the program, I kind of have it there, is to support, remove, ensure, and grow. My primary role is to support the coaches, the players, and the families as a director of this program. And that's in a lot of ways, just giving updated information each week about what's going on with the season and the league, during this time right now, what's going on, making sure they have the support, the information they need, based on what's happening throughout the season. They're prepared. They know what's coming down the pipeline, that, the coaches have what they need. The players have what they need from, the training standpoint, game standpoint, it's support, so that's one thing I try to do, the best of my ability, is make sure that everybody feels supported, that if there's a need, I'm trying to figure out how to get that need or help them with that. Or if I can't do it personally, find a way to do it. The other side is remove obstacles. Our coaches, parents, players, they all have great ideas about things and things they want to do within the club and the community. So I see that as one of my responsibilities as a director too, is try to remove obstacles out of the way from doing things that they want to grow in the game, grow the game, and then also like help for coaches to help their teams and players engage in the game in ways that will help them and develop as they move forward. So I try to help coaches make sure there's no obstacles in what they're trying to do to help their kids. My job is to ensure that, the season runs smoothly. What we talk about and the expectations laid out are being met. People have a positive experience within the club, and then, continue to grow the game. That's one reason why I love doing what I'm doing, is I like, continue to grow and promote the game and provide resources, opportunities for players, parents, and coaches to engage in the game, share my passion, my commitment level with the game, and and continue to grow it and get more and more kids interested in playing, whether with Classics Eagles or anywhere else. So I like to just kind of give some background about me, and it kind of, I think it helps kind of put things in perspective of kind of where I kind of came from and my approach with the club and the things I talk about. I grew up in Florida. I grew up playing there in South Florida, which I absolutely loved. During that time, soccer was pretty big there, within the culture of South Florida. It was pretty popular. So I was very lucky with the coaches and the experiences I had. What a lot of people don't know, that I was actually, and I was getting down to the bottom, I was actually parent coach. I was on parent coach teams till I was about 16 years old. Until that's when I kind of started becoming more like professional coach experience. But I was very blessed to have amazing parent coaches or volunteer coaches up to that time. It was a great experience for me, and partly why I'm so passionate about this program and the role that that parent coach soccer program has in developing and growing players. I ended up playing soccer at Ohio State. I was captain there my senior year and absolutely loved it. Again, fell in love with Columbus. I'm still here. People always, wonder why, coming from Florida, end up in Ohio, but I fell in love with Columbus, loved Ohio State. I got my master's in education. I was actually a teacher for a couple of years before moving into soccer and coaching full time. I've been at it for about 14 years now. I do have my National C license, which is, I just put that out there because people ask about that. But, for me, it's not really an important thing when it comes to something kind of measuring a coach, but that's where I'm at. I've been a coach and director for those 14 years. I've been in different roles, as a director with Class Eagles at different age groups. Class Eagles used to have a parent coach and professional coached arm. I was a director of the YDA U8 and U9 Academy when it was a professional coach element to it. Before that became Barca Academy. Also coached in the program for the last 10 years, and then also have been a high school coach in the past. On top of that, I do, if people have seen me, I do like posting a lot of articles and training videos. So one of my passions is always trying to help give information and provide things for parents, players, and coaches to just talk about the game, engage in the game in a lot of ways. So that's a little bit about me. If you become part of Class Eagles, you'll kind of see this a lot, where I like engaging with parents, like talking with parents about the game, talk about their kid, share ideas, share experiences, talk about, what's next and help in any way I can. So some of the things that are coming up, just from important dates, times, and things like that, just so you're aware. And this is going to talk a little bit into, kind of what's happening now with the health crisis and how that's impacting everything, and kind of going forward. So the player and team registration deadline for Classics Eagles is Friday, May 22nd. I put that deadline on there because that's really the best, that's kind of the latest time we really want teams to register in terms of getting prepared for the fall. Do teams come in and players register after that date? They have, and they do, and they can. It just, things get a little bit tougher in terms of the speed of getting prepared for the fall, getting players on teams and rostered. I know it's 2 months, but there's a lot that goes on in terms of getting prepared for the fall season in that June and July month. So getting people registered and everyone kind of set up before the end of May helps for a very smooth transition into the fall, and everyone has everything they need and everyone's all set. So, but we do have players that come in later after that date if they, another team didn't work out for them with another club organization, and if we have space and and opportunities for them, they could register after that date. For the independent players who are looking for teams, we typically would have assessment dates where we would have in-person kind of assessments with players. So we can get to meet the families and the players and talk to them about what they're looking for, in a team and a program for the following year. This year, with the current health crisis and the governor's orders, no club is going to be able to hold any type of tryout or on-field assessment during this time. So Classics Eagles is not a tryout-based club, but most clubs in the area are, where you attend a tryout, you're evaluated, and then you're placed on teams based on ability and tiered. Classics Eagles, like I said, doesn't do that. Teams just coming together, and we help independent players try to find teams. But regardless, we still used to have player assessments where we would get players on the field and get to see them before helping them find a team within Classics Eagles. So with that ability not to do that, we are doing video assessments in essence, if an individual player registers, they'll get an email from me, and we're asking to kind of put together a 4-minute video of just doing a couple things with the ball. That helps us just get a sense of kind of where a player is at, and where might be a good fit within the club. But again, a clear difference between Classic Eagles and other clubs is we are not tryout based. So as a kid comes in, we don't take the best 10 U10s and put them on one team. Teams come in together, and those teams are mixed in abilities and or sometimes very close together, but those teams come in together. They're kind of self-formed. So I just want to make sure that's clear, in terms of how teams come in, and that we're not a tryout-based club. Player acceptance with the way tryouts are being run this year, for current Classic Eagles players or recreational players that aren't affiliated with another club, they can officially accept a spot within Classic Eagles on May 26th. They can't do it any sooner than that. If a player comes to Classic Eagles from another club, they can't accept a spot on a team until May 29th. So typically in the past, there's been tryout weeks where, an age group band trials out for an entire week, and each club holds tryouts and you attend. And then at the end of the week, you're told if you are made a team or not, and you accept. Because they can't do that, they've come up with a different plan where clubs are not able to offer spots to their current players until May 26th, and then for players outside their club till May 29th. Again, the only exception to that is if a player is coming from a recreational program and is not currently affiliated with a club, then they can be accepted on May 26th. Our team camp, I talked about that already, that we hold in the fall, is July 27th. Our preseason scrimmages would be the weekend of August 1st and 2nd. Again, going through the timeline, fall season is August, October. Winter with no official date events is at November 2020 to February 2021. And then the winter indoor seasons, winter indoor springs training sessions usually happen towards the end of March, beginning of May, for players, teams to help get prepared for the spring. And then the spring season is March to May 2020. So that's kind of how the calendar looks for Classic Eagles. That's going to be pretty similar to most clubs. Again, some clubs will have more official events and continuous training throughout the winter months. For example, Barca Academy, that's our partner club, they will train for 10 months. So they will go and have the fall season, and then move indoors in winter, and the team still train twice a week and do internal competition, and then move into spring. So that, some clubs will continue to do things for the winter. We don't, again, because kind of the structure of our club, a lot of the players who are in it, they're multi-sport athletes, and they play a lot of different activities. And a lot of times in the winter time, they're off playing other sports and doing other things during that time. So there are teams that will choose to play in local indoor leagues, but it's not official, and it's not something that CE mandates that they do. Okay. Good. Just a couple other resources that I want to share before we get into questions. There's an article on the Classic Eagles website and our articles page, moving out of recreational soccer. If you are a parent who has a child who's moving out of recreational soccer, it's a good article to read. I try to go through and look at all the different things and differences between clubs, and things to consider when you're making a decision about what's the next right step for your child. And then I see a YouTube page. If you search for Classic Eagles on the YouTube, there's a lot of videos that give you additional opportunity, just give ideas about how kids can train at home. And there's some clips of some of the CE events over the past year as well. So just some final thoughts before questions. One thing that I talk to our coaches about, and something I believe, and for me, again, a foundation of youth sports and coaching in general, is anyone who's in this, you can replace soccer with anything else. But for me, we don't coach soccer. Our focus is that we coach people, and soccer is just a tool we use to do it. So whether it's soccer, basketball, dance, ice hockey, I never look at this as we're coaching soccer. Our goal, and what we're doing every day when we step on the field with players, is that we're coaching and teaching people. And we just, as a soccer club, are using soccer and that experience to do that. That's what a couple of my coaches will always focus on. When I was a kid, they would say that to my parents, and it's stuck. And I think it's a very important difference that we always have to remember through youth sports, and we're coaching as parents, is that it's not soccer we're teaching. It's we're using soccer as a tool to help develop people, develop people champions, not necessarily soccer champions. But obviously, I think that as you're developing players who are excelling on the field, you're also developing players who are excelling off the field as well. As I said before, I really suggest as parents, and depending on the age of your player, asking and understanding what your why is, what you're looking for in a youth soccer experience. I talked about Class Eagles not being a tryout-based club. For some players and parents, they want to just play with friends and family or people in the community or schools, and that's what they're interested in. Other players and families are ready to kind of be in more of a tiered environment where they want to try out, they want their child placed on a team based on their level of play, and it's tiered. So whether it's a first team, second team, or third team, they want to play more tournaments. They want to play more games. They want to practice 3-4 times a week versus 2 times a week. Whatever your situation is, it's not about anything being right or wrong. It's about understanding what it is you want. Understanding is what your parents want. If you're a coach, and really kind of aligning and looking at clubs like Classic Eagles and asking those questions and finding the opportunity that matches up with you. And that gets to my last point. There's no right path. So I think a lot of parents sometimes are nervous about making the wrong decision. Or you hear about people doing one thing and oh, should I do that for my child? Or people over here saying let's do that, and oh, this is the way to go to get to X, Y, or Z. And it's just not the case. There's not one right path. There's just your path that's right for you, is what I say. So when it comes to every player, if you look at everyone's journey through the game and how they grow and develop, it's different for everybody. So there's not one way to experience the game and grow in the game. And again, based on what you're looking for, you want that to align with, the path you want to be on. So kind of go into questions here. Before I do, just a couple more pictures from this year. Again,